Hello and welcome to the Embrace Balance, Discover Joy podcast. I'm Amanda Butland, your host and intuitive life coach.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Embrace Balance, Discover Joy podcast. Today, my special guest is Donna Lee of the Raw and Rewritten podcast. Donna, it's so great to have you with me today.
Oh, it's so good to be with you. I'm excited.
Awesome. Me too.
Thank you
All
for
right.
having me on here.
Oh,
It's an honor.
Oh, of course. It's a pleasure to have you on. I'm excited to chat with you today. But before we get started, I'm going to ask you my little icebreaker question. Would you mind would you mind sharing with us what activity or hobby brings you the most joy and why?
Oh, dancing and singing. Ever since I was a young girl, I loved expressing myself through movement. I grew up where it was very cold in Michigan. And a lot of time we couldn't move because we were packed in these big clothes and all that. So when I got out of them, I was very expressive. And I find movement still today. If I'm trapped in something, if I'm feeling a certain way, if I get out and walk in nature, or if I just move my body, or if I sing, I just feel so much better. So it definitely is one. I have a lot of them, but one of my favorite. Yeah.
I love that. I love what you said around when you describe sort of the movement, like as a child being stuck in I also grew up in cold temperatures. I grew up in Toronto. And so I understand the uh, it's like that the I'm stuck in these big huge layers of clothing. So I totally get that. So I love what you said
Absolutely.
about just being able to move and get out of that and just be free. So
One of the reasons why I live in California, I think now, like, woo!
right.
But I love the snow. It was really fun as a child, and I still love the
Mm-hmm.
snow, actually.
Yeah. Well, depending on where in California, snow might not be too far away. If you're in the northern part, Tahoe's not that far.
Exactly. Love Tahoe.
All right, so we're gonna just dive right in.
Okay.
I would love if you wouldn't mind sharing with us sort of your journey to where you are today, because I know you have your podcast, and we'll get into maybe a little bit more detail about what you talk about on there. But would you mind
Mhm.
sharing us sort of your journey and how you got to where you are today?
Well, how much time do we have now? um, well, my journey began, it really began, I think, when my mother passed away in my arms at 24. Um, it was very life-changing for me. And I felt like there was a mantle that was passed down to me. And I didn't know this was going on inside of me at the time. But I moved from Michigan and I moved to Manhattan, and I started pursuing the arts. And I worked there for about 6 years. And that led me to a job here in California. And I ended up moving here. And then 9 months later, I was married. And I just went into building a beautiful family. And I have 4 children, 2 daughters, 2 sons, and they are now older and grown. And I am back to really focusing on women. And there's a lot of history behind that for me, because when you grow up without a mother, there's a big hole inside of you as a woman, and you start trying to put on these layers of, oh, that's what femininity is, or oh, they say I'm a tomboy and I shouldn't be like this. And so I found myself always feeling like I didn't fit in, and I started meeting other women who felt the same way. And that's where my whole heart for Raw and Rewritten is, because there's a lot of women that, because of these identities that aren't intact, we may be doing things out of robotic and not really fulfilling the things that we really want to be doing, or maybe we were silenced, or maybe no one saw in us. who we really were. And didn't even know we were masking who we really were. And it's a place to just come and get raw and rewritten by one moment at a time, one story at a time, and one teardrop at a time.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So,
thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing
yeah.
your journey. And I love what you just said around sort of what how this came about, how you know, why you started your podcast and
Yeah.
just having found these women
Mm-hmm.
who, like yourself, had identity challenges, right? Not knowing, you know, who
Yes.
you really were and being able to sort
Mm-hmm.
of work to get to a place where you know, you're helping people figure out who they are, you know, who they
Yes.
truly are authentically versus what they think they should be doing or how they think they should be behaving or how what, like you mentioned, femininity, like what does that actually look like,
Right.
without having grown up with maybe a role model in your adult life and as when you became a mother and being able to help women sort of figure out what that means
Yeah.
for them. What does
Yes.
femininity look like for me? Because it's not the same for everybody. And I think,
No.
you know, in media, you think, okay, well, it has to look like this. But
Exactly.
that's not necessarily realistic for most people, right? Not everybody's walking around like
Yeah.
looking
And
like
it's
they're in a
like,
movie.
and there were times in my life where, I was very tomboy. I was a tomboy, what they called back in the day. And basically what that was is I loved sports. I was very active. I was good at sports. Um, and, I wasn't running around in frilly little dresses. And that was in my era, my being 64 years old, it just was very different. And then so when I started exploring with femininity, I thought, well, I need to wear the this and that. And, you know, I mean, I am so feminine, but in my mind, femininity was something completely different.
Mm, hmm.
Um, and then, you have children and they come out who they are, and you don't really get a choice to decide who they're going to be. And I started realizing that um, there's so many facets to people, and allowing people the room to be who they really are
Mm,
is fundamental. And if
mm,
you haven't had anybody speaking in your life that reflects the things that you're passionate about and just who you are in your own identity, you start taking identity from all these things that you
mm,
like. Nothing wrong with that. If you like someone's house, oh, I want that furniture, I like this, I like that, but is that really your authentic self?
mm, hmm.
That's, okay, maybe you feel a certain way in that. And so it was just a lot of exploration inside to and then as my kids were getting older, then when my kids were grown, it was like, what's my identity now? Here I
Mm,
am, my children
yeah.
are older. So there's just so many layers to being a woman, and things that people don't talk about, like addiction
Mm,
or suicide,
mm,
hopelessness, depression, um, lack of identity, being not having a voice, not being heard. And I started, working with women, and we started having groups together and support groups. And that's kind of how this whole thing started, was um, going deeper into that, and some of the younger generation reaching out to talk about, you know, the loss of having a mom, even if their mom was there, because they feel
mm,
so cut off in their life.
mm,
And so there's so many different layers to, everybody's story. And
hmm.
I mean, I love everybody's story because it's their story. I don't
Yeah.
get your story. You don't get my story. And so it's so beneficial when women, we used to have tribes and
Mm,
communities, and so I kind of feel like Raw and Rewritten is that, trying to really allow a space, a sacred space where people can be raw and
Mm.
they can rewrite their journey however they want. And it needs to be an authentic, safe environment. And those are
Yeah.
hard to find.
Yeah, they are. And so I love that
Mhm.
you're creating this space for people to really find their true authentic selves again, getting raw and rewriting who they are in the way that makes most sense for them, and not,
Right.
applying all those external things that they're seeing, from other people, from, expectations from, maybe the way
Yes.
like society expects of them.
Hmm.
And I do want to go back to something you said about how, you're at an age, you have grown children, but you mentioned briefly that even younger women are coming to you and talking
Yes.
to you about this. And I love that,
Hmm.
this younger generation is gaining more awareness of it sooner, so
Oh,
that they're not at the age
yes.
where maybe you and I are, and trying to unravel, right, like 50, 60, or 40, 50, 60 years of
Yes.
unraveling. They're
Yes.
identifying it younger, and so they don't have
Yes.
as much to unravel.
And they have so much to offer. They
Mm,
have so much to offer us, and we have so much to offer them. And so, again, there's that weird thing too, the age. What's age? It's a number, you know?
yeah.
But we really were getting, what would you call it? Like segmented, or say you are in your church or whatever, and they say, well, if you're this age and this age, you go to this. If you're this age and this age, and I'm like at my church going, wait, I like being with them. They like being with me. So there's structure in a lot of different things, but I think I receive almost more than they do. But they say they receive more. Um, but they allow me to have my inner child come out,
Mm,
and I allow them to heal.
hmm.
And they're allowing me to heal at the same time. So I think, there's so many topics too that women don't really talk about. Maybe they don't learn these things from their parents, or feel comfortable, or ever even heard of menopause. Like, I didn't even know what menopause was when I went through it. Um, and there's just all these different layers but this younger generation, they're on fire. They really, I mean, they're strong, and they're open-minded. They're
Yeah.
so open. I mean, I love that. I just love that they're so open. And the other thing they like is they don't care if your story's all messy and you messed up, and because who hasn't? I
Right.
mean, who hasn't? And they can see right through the baloney. They can see
Mm,
right through it. They don't they
hmm.
don't want anything to do with that. And I can remember feeling like that when I was young. Um and I don't find that the women are insecure like we were. We were very, very competitive as women. And I find now, like, we're championing each other.
Mm,
There is no
hmm.
competition if you know who you are. You're not trying to be something else. You don't know, you change all the time. We're always changing. But there was so much it was just challenging to be with women because there was so much competition. It feels like there's so much competition.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I want to say, in some cases in corporate America, it's, at some certain levels, that it's still sort of like that in some cases, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where, I think that's where you sort of get there's that, like, stereotypical, like, I don't know what I'm trying to think of the word, how you describe that, but it's sort of like those, like, those women, like, seeing, you think of, like, and you see it in, like, media too, right, where there's, like, these high level executive women that, they're
Yes.
all out for themselves, and it's sort of
Oh,
sad
yeah.
to that,
Because they've had to
that's
fight
like,
so hard to get
oh,
there.
sure, yeah.
And the
Hmm.
thing about it is, you know, that's the hard part, because when we're celebrating someone else, I think, and we're uplifting other people, we're really elevated.
Mm.
There's nothing
Hmm.
better than feeling like you're championing somebody else. And there's something about that honoring another woman, honoring her call, her gifting, her voice, her passion, and freeing us up to have that kind of community where we're really championing each other to explore. If we don't feel safe to explore, we will not explore. We're too fearful. There's too many maybe bad experiences or pain or rejection. And our mindset, we have to really work on our mindset and what, awareness, like what are we thinking about ourselves? What are we saying to ourselves? What are these tapes that run through our minds all the time? And, becoming aware and saying, wait a minute, I don't feel that way about myself. People don't see me like that. We do this one exercise where, we have a circle and the women are together, and you write your name on the top of the page, and then you pass it around, and the women in the circle write something, not just to make you feel good, something really about you that they see, that's positive. And when you get the paper back, you just think, that's how they see me? Like that, that's me?
Yeah.
And it's really very eye-opening. And it's a really beautiful healing place. And I find it's very, very effective in working on your identity. Some people have done it where they, mail something out, or they send an email and they say, tell me something positive or that you like about me, and don't put your name, don't, whatever. And just to help you see, yourself from a different point of view than this tape that's telling you, I'm not enough. Oh my gosh, my hair, I'm gray, I'm this, I'm that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That negative self-chatter, it can can really bring you down. So I love that you have that exercise where it's like positive things about what other people see in you, because you probably don't see that in yourself, right?
Exactly. We don't see ourselves accurately. And, and so then the more that we, realize, oh, that is who I am. I can start to really declare that over me and own that. And, it's not an arrogant thing. It's just breaking down the walls of oppression and, lack of self-esteem, maybe, which is another big one. And then, you go into areas where, we have genes, or we have addiction, and we have abuse or trauma, and, it's just layer after layer. And really having fun in this while you're working on it is key, because if you just start stacking all that stuff up, it's just, it's too much. But
they are heavy topics. So
yeah. And having fun is a big one. Do you know how to have fun?
I mean, that's one of those things that have people forgotten. I mean, maybe not the younger generation, but maybe the older generation. Is fun still a thing? Are people still, making the time for it? Because I think oftentimes we get busy with lives, responsibilities, right, as we age, and it's sort of like, are we intentionally making time to remember to actually have some fun?
And as women, if you are a mother and you had young children, I mean, we pour everything into our families. We can pour everything into a relationship. We can pour everything into a friendship. And then if anything changes or happens, you're going, well, where did I go? Or who did I become? And who am I now? And I don't see that as a negative. A lot of people see that as a negative. I don't. I think, ooh, nice. You're becoming awake. You're awakening. And like, how fun to go and explore. Or ask yourself when you're going to that restaurant, do I really like this food? There were some things I would do, and I'm like, I don't even like doing this. Why am I doing this? But I thought I really liked it. But there were other things in this season that I found I liked more. And, we get to change. We get to just, yeah, we just get to be who we are in the moment, not who we
Yeah.
were 10 years ago or who we're going to be, or, we
Oh,
get
for
to, it's,
sure.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I like it that what you said about the seasons, right? And the change that
yes,
happens as we go through life, because you're right. Like
yes.
that person that you were when you were raising young kids is not the same person you probably are today with, adult kids at all. And
No.
just to be able to rediscover who you are, because you're right. This comes up a lot when women
Yes,
become mothers, and they're
yes,
dedicating their entire lives to just these
yes,
little people. There's these
eh,
kids, right? And then once
yes.
these kids are grown and are self-sufficient
Bye.
and they're not there, right? It's like, well, who am I now? Who
Yes,
like who am I? You sort of lost touch with who that is. But I love what you said about getting to explore and recreating, and or
yes,
creating a new you, because you're not the same person you
yes,
were before you had kids.
yes. And it can be
Um,
like even that can happen in a job change or
mm-hmm,
a career change, a loss of
mm-hmm,
and then you realize, wow, my identity was in my kids, or my identity was in my work, or
mm-hmm.
wait a minute, my identity was in God before I even,
Yeah.
had any of these things. So my identity is not something that is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's not that. That's a part of
Right.
you. But if you took all that away, um, that's the fun, hard, raw stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Awesome. I love
just
that.
being, right? Just
Yeah.
being
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and allowing, we did an exercise where a woman would get up and there'd be people sitting, and she would just stand to just be seen. It is very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. And you start to realize that just being is not something we're used to.
Absolutely. I think in today's society where it's sort of like go, 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 you're doing. There's
Yes.
so much doing
Yeah.
that people have lost touch with just being, and just feeling what it is like to just be still
Yes.
and be. But I love that
Yes.
because I mean, I think nowadays people are a little bit more intentional about
Yep.
taking time for themselves, meditating,
Yes.
just being in silence. It's a challenge in today's society, but to be able to take that
Yeah.
time, that's amazing. That's just it's a very
Yeah.
special time.
And a
Mm,
part of Raw and Rewritten is mind, body, soul. How
mm,
do we incorporate transforming our lives into a life that we have peace and we have joy and we have productivity and we have these things, but if any of them go, we're not, devastated.
hmm
Um, but your spirituality, your scientific, what's going on in your mind, quantum physics, these things are all real. We're energy. How do
Yeah.
we re-regulate? I have a couple things that some of the therapists, and we don't do therapy. We don't do therapy, but they do talk about different regulating things. If you have your anxiety, depression, and there are tools that we can have that will help us. What do you do if you're in addiction and you're coming out of it? Where do
Mm,
you go for fun? What do you like about yourself? There's just so many different things. And I really like to start with our identities. With a strong identity, you can it's kind of like the foundation.
hmm
So, and then you have your health, and, you have so many different things. And I think I love to talk and I love to hear somebody's story. And when someone tells their story, it's so powerful.
Yeah,
It's so
absolutely.
powerful because the skill of listening is powerful.
Yeah.
And when someone feels heard, it is a beautiful gift you can give someone.
Oh, absolutely.
So few people feel heard. And, creating a space where people can listen is just a gift to have, to be a part of something like that. And crying is healing, laughing is healing, anger is healing. You can throw a lot of ice. But yeah, sometimes I fantasize about, what it would have been like if I lived in a tribe, and the women were together, telling all our stories. And I think that comes from that little girl who really missed her mom. Like she was sick from the age I was like 8. So
wow.
I became an adult at like 8. And, to lose her, I don't know where my childhood went. So I'm playing a lot. I'm finding that when I was with my kids and, I was more serious because I was so protective and I wish I had played more. And so I'm finding that I'm playing a lot. I'm healing this inner little child. And a lot of us women are not in touch with that inner child, and getting in touch with it is kind of fun because people are sharing things they're doing. And it's like, I want to do that. I want to try that, So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm just going to start to wrap up here. We've had such an amazing conversation and touched on many different topics. But before we wrap up, just wanted to open it up for any final thoughts you have for our audience today. Any special message you'd like to share?
I think I'd like to share that you don't have to go through life alone. I think finding safe people is a really beautiful gift. And being a safe person is even a better gift. And have fun exploring who you are right now. Like, spend some time with yourself and just become more aware of what you're thinking about. And when you go places, be honest with yourself, just inside. Do I like this? Do I want to eat this? Or am I just automatically doing things because I'm so used to doing them? And I sure hope you guys do come to Raw and Rewritten. And, but you can find that community anywhere within wherever you live. And you can start with one person. That's what's really great. I have friends that we met 30 years ago, and the 3 of us are still close over 30 years through divorces, through children, through sickness, through moves, and you know what? We're getting together for my girlfriend's 55th birthday, and I'm flying to Vegas, and the 3 of us are getting together. So a lot's going to happen with 3 women together. So, you can build those long lasting relationships, and not every relationship is for all those seasons. So I don't know, just, get connected, get in touch with yourself, and rewrite your story.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. And thanks again, Donna, for being on with me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
You're the best. Thank you so much. Thank you for making me feel comfortable and welcoming me. And I really appreciate it.
I invite you to subscribe to the Embrace, Balance, Discover Joy podcast and join our community. If you feel inspired by what you hear, please leave a review and share this podcast with others who might benefit. And remember, it's never too late to embrace balance and discover joy in your life. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes filled with inspiring stories and valuable insights. Until next time, take care and be kind to yourself.